Good morning and welcome to Fast Horses Today. We have picks and analysis for races at Santa Anita for Friday, May 30th. So it's the start of the race week there at Santa Anita. So let's get started for Friday, May 30th. So on Friday, I do have a win bet I'm going to make, a little win bet, and then also play a late pick 5. I think it might be worth playing and could result in a nice payoff. So let's get started. Going to go to the second race at Santa Anita. The second race has an approximate post time of 1:30 Pacific, so 3:30 here in the Central Time Zone. The second race, a starter allowance race, is 6 furlongs on the dirt. This is a starter allowance for horses who have run for 62.50 or less, in 2024, 2025. And, this is, your lower level races, and they're giving horses a chance to, connections a chance to run without having to get claimed. And I think it really fits a horse here that I gave out last time, and she scored for us at a nice price at 7-1. That was Rose of Jericho. And I'm going to go right back with Rose of Jericho. She's the 4 horse today, and she's still trained by Samuel Calavario. He did not get the horse claimed out of that race last time, so I think they might have been fortunate there. But, I liked the horse last time. As I mentioned, she delivered. They have the benefit now of putting her in a starter allowance. And, I see that as a really positive sign because of the way she ran last time. She ran a really nice race in winning. She just kind of, blew out the field that she ran up against. And what I really liked about her is in the stretch, Giovanni Franco, rode her right through to the wire, and she looks like she really responded. So I like that effort. Generally, I'm hesitant on horses at this level to come back and run similar races. But, I look at the field. It's an 8-horse field. You probably could throw out immediately half the field, and she only has a couple horses to compete with. And like I said, I like her last race. I think she could repeat there. She's run with better in her life, and there was reasons why I liked her last time, and I like her again. She's 9-2 in the program. Not sure we'll get 9-2, but we might get a decent price here. There's a couple other horses that are listed as lower program odds there in the morning line, so we might get a good price on her. But we'll make a small win bet on the second race, the 4 horse. Rose of Jericho. All right, now let's move over to the 5th race. We'll skip over the next few. The 5th race does start the late pick 5. And that starts, post time is about 2:59 Pacific time. So that's 4:59 here in the Central Time Zone. And the 5th race starts us out with they're starting up, their last couple weeks there at Santa Anita. They're putting the 2-year-olds on the turf, and, they're 5 furlong grass races on the turf. So these are maiden special weights. These are open maiden special weights. What makes it interesting is, speed certainly is a big factor in these baby races, but on the grass, we'll see. I mean, certainly speed could hold at 5 furlongs, no doubt there, but, you might also have horses that, might pack it in towards the end. So anyway, I'm going to put 2 horses in this race, and, the one of them is the obvious horse being the 5 horse, but let's start out with the 1 horse, Velvet Dream. Velvet Dream ran one race, ran with Laville Lumiere, and, they ran together. Laville Lumiere ran a big race coming second. Velvet Dream came third that race. What I like about that effort by Velvet Dream is, she broke out from the 5 hole. First time out, she broke outwardly big time. And, that's to be expected. You've got, new horses here, to the racing game, and when they get out of the gate, if they've got open spot to the left or to the right, they usually go towards that. So, in this case, this horse broke outwardly, so, just didn't give herself a chance to win the race when you had a couple speed horses just get out and go, and one of them being Laville Lumiere. So I'm going to put the 1 horse Velvet Dream in here. Maybe she turns the tables. And, she was bet that day. She was 5-2, so obviously with some steam. She must have been training well. This filly by Vacoma. And out of a Kella mare. Kella, you don't see Kella all too often anymore in the bloodlines. But anyway, Vacomas have been really nice horses. They've been producing, pretty nice results. And Velvet Dream 8-1. Diego Herrera will put her in. And then I will put the 5 horse was Laville Lumiere from Michael McCarthy, Kazushi Kimura. She ran a huge race that day. She was about 2-1 that day, so certainly the word was out on her. The horse fought for the lead with the winner and, just never gave up, just got beat by a better horse that day. So, I expect a pretty nice effort out of her. She was a big purchase price, $425,000, or $475,000 purchase by City of Light out of a Malibu Moon mare. And, Eclipse Orbit Partners owns it. We know they're serious players. Michael McCarthy's done a great job for them. And, 6-5, so certainly makes sense. But we'll put the 1 and the 5 to get this pick 5 started. All right, now let's go to the 6th race of the day. The 6th race of the day is a 6 furlong race. This is a $16,000 claiming race and non-winners of 2 in the lifetime. So these are 3 and up. And, interesting bunch of horses. I think it's a competitive field. I'm going to put 3 horses in here. I think one of these 3 should advance the ticket. Going to put the 2-horse General Jackson for Doug O'Neill. O'Neill, heated up a little bit over the past weekend. He had a really slow start to the meet, but, he's right now at 9%, still under what you'd expect from Doug O'Neill. But this horse has been running, in these claiming level races. And, these are just a bunch of horses who just hoping you catch them on their best day. General Jackson being one of them. This horse did win a 6 furlong race, breaking his maiden at the 32,000 level. They're putting a horse in for 16. That's not a panic or anything. It's just this horse is a claiming horse, so they're trying to find his level. He was a purchase price of $150,000, but they put this horse has been running and claiming, for a while now. So you just, like I said, they're just trying to find his level and win races, which, Doug O'Neill certainly does. 5-1, Abel Lascano on the horse. He can maybe work out a trip and finish up here. I'm going to also put the 6 horse being Cupid's Crusader for Alfredo Marquez, and Hector Barrios takes the call. Now, this horse has been running at this $16,000 level, been competitive. Last two starts, we're going to focus in on those 2 starts. It was the similar type of level here. End up running a mile, which might have been too long for this horse. I don't know this horse would want to go long. And they shortened this horse to a 5.5 furlong race off a mile, which is, kind of a tough ask for a lot of horses. But I thought that he ran pretty well there. Ended up, kind of running towards the lead, fighting for the lead, ended up, coming third. Gotten beat by Zombo Bombo, who runs later today. We'll talk about that horse. But I think Cupid's Crusader certainly is live here at 3-1, so we'll put this horse in. And then finally, I'm going to put the 8 horse, who is Pratchett, for Mike Pipey and Armando Ayuso. This horse probably would be a single for a lot of folks, and I certainly wouldn't tell you not to. This horse is 2-1 in the program. Pipey brings this horse in, off of a little bit of a vacation, couple months. This horse has been running, at these claiming levels and running competitively as well. Certainly the speed figures match up, and I understand why this horse is the favorite. But, as we see, these horses do get beat. Ayuso's been riding just stellar at Santa Anita. Ayuso's a guy where, we're going to see. I'm wondering if he's going to start getting into some of the bigger barns and running, riding big horses, because he certainly, is worth a look. He's been riding really, really well. So we'll put the 2, 6, and the 8 there in the 6th race. All right, let's go to the 7th race of the day. 7th race of the day is a $20,000 claimer. This is non-winners of 3 lifetime. This is 6.5 on the dirt. And I think this is a tough race. We've got a horse in here that's going to, probably be the favorite that I think there's a lot of question marks on, is this horse, are they trying to find his level, or they're just trying to, give this horse away? I don't know. I guess we'll find out when the race is run. But, be that as it may, it makes me put 4 horses in here because I just, I'm not trusting of that. But I'm going to put the 2 horse, who was a long shot, 'Tis a Good Thing, for Steve Knapp. Knapp's got 2 horses in this race. There's a long shot here with Tiago Pereira. Horse has done most of his running on the turf. And, what I see as a nice hidden race here, in his last several races have been turf races. He's got 1 dirt race where he ran in a non-winner of 3 for $30,000. 6.5 on the dirt, and I thought this horse ran a huge race. A race anything like that would certainly put this horse in a competitive situation. In the 7th race, I'm going to put this horse in. It is a Good Thing based off that race. Certainly belongs. Has been running at this level. We'll see if this horse, will want to run better again on the dirt. Dirt record's not bad. One win out of 3 starts in the 3rd, so certainly fits here. 20-1. We'll take a shot with this horse. Going to put the 3 horse with Zombo Bombo, George Papa Padromo, and Diego Herrera takes the call here. This horse won his last race and, ran in a pretty nice race, 5.5 furlong with a pretty nice speed figure, and the horse ended up going for the lead, getting the lead, and fighting off everybody. So we'll see if this horse can duplicate that. 9-2 in the program. We'll put Zombo Bombo. Going to put the 5 horse, who is Navy Man. That's Steve Knapp's other horse. I mentioned he's got a couple here. Now, Navy Man was one of those horses where, this is your Boulevard of Broken Dreams horse. Horse was purchased for nearly $500,000, $475,000 at auction a few years back. And, they put this horse in the claiming ranks, and, he's just been running some even races. Is certainly where he belongs, so they're putting him in for the 20 non-winner 3, which he's been running here. I think maybe the little bit of a break should do this horse some good. He's run some good races, which would make him competitive here. And again, if the favorite falters, a horse like Navy Man could reach into his back class and get it done here. Kyle Frey on the horse, 5-1. We'll put Navy Man. And then finally, I will put the favorite, who is Gavea, for Dan Blacker. Hector Barrios takes the call. Now, this horse, is dropping in from the starter allowance, from some big races that he ran last year. And, obviously something happened. The horse hadn't run, in nearly a year. They put him out there early April. The horse ended up running in an allowance race, which was, way over his head, a long distance race. Took the lead for a while and then just fell apart, gave it up. So now they're putting this horse in for $20,000. They're putting blinkers on. The horse has certainly shown speed in his 2-turn races. Show a little speed in his sprints too. So, probably is fast enough to get the lead here. But we'll see. He's 5-2 in the program. We'll see if this horse is fine, if they're finding it their level, or they're trying to give this horse away and he just has no more run left in him. But, we'll put the horse in. I don't want to get knocked out by him. But I'll put the 2, 3, 5, and 7 in the 7th race. All right, now let's go to the 8th race of the day. 8th race is a first-level allowance race. This is a 6-furlong dirt affair, and these are fillies and mares 3 and up. I've got 3 horses here. It's an interesting field. I'll tell you why I feel it's interesting. The 3-horse Shining Star for John Sadler. This horse he's bringing from South America. The horse was running in Chile in her career. So this is his first time out since November. Now, we've seen Sadler do this in the past. He's brought several horses from the Southern Hemisphere, from South America, and done well with them. And this horse, she's 4 out of 5 winners. So, I'm not exactly sure who she ran with down there, and I don't follow that circuit. So, the workouts look nice. We'll see if she's ready. She's 8-1. Hector Barrios on the horse. I don't feel like this field is so strong that this horse can't just, come out and win first time out off the bench. So we'll put the 3 Shining Star. Going to put the 4 in, who is Wish They All Could Be. Hector Palma is the trainer here, and Tiago Pereira's on the horse. Now this, she's a hard knocker, Calbred. This horse shows up every time. She's been running now on this circuit for several years in the allowance level, running at Calbred levels and the open level here, and always seems to put up a great effort. Now, I'm surprised someone doesn't, just retire this horse and make her a broodmare. I think she'll be a nice broodmare, especially in the Cal ranks, because she runs with a lot of heart. But anyway, she shows up. She puts big efforts. I know she's beaten me a couple times, out of some nice payoffs. So I'll put Wish They All Could Be. She's going to be 2-1 in the program here. So we'll see what she goes off there. And then finally, I'm going to put the 6 horse. 6 horse being Margarita Gal for Mark Glatt. And you'll see, if you read the PPs here, you're going to see she's a maiden. She's an 0-for-2 maiden with a 2nd and a 3rd, and you'll wonder, why is Glatt putting this horse in here? I think, there just wasn't anywhere else to run her. The maiden special weight races, they probably didn't fill. There was one in the condition book, for the weekend. It didn't fill, and this is probably where he could run her. So, that's my guess is what happened here. We'll see on the telecast if maybe they interview Glatt, and he might be able to offer more insight. But she's 5-2. Freysu takes the call. Freysu's been on this horse in her 2 lifetime starts. She ran as a 2-year-old at Del Mar, in her first start, and ran a really nice race, coming second to non-compliant. And we all know those Del Mar summer races are really tough when you got 2-year-olds. Those are, the big purchase prices, and your future stars, are running in those races. So she ran a big race at odds on, being second place to non-compliant, who went on to win a stakes race back last summer, fall. So no shame there. Came back, went to Santa Anita, ran in the fall in a turf race. So she was 1-2 that day, and ended up coming 3rd to Shillified, who Shillified I know came back to win a race on the turf. So Shillified's a decent horse too. I don't know if the turf was what they wanted, but again, I think in California nowadays, you don't always get what you want, as they say, as the Rolling Stones song once said. I think you got to run them where you can, and this, so that she was on the turf that day. But back to dirt here. She's certainly capable, to take care of this field. $575,000 purchase. And, if she does win here, I believe she could probably run in the same level and a non-winner of 1, I believe she'll be able to do that. But, that would be up to the racing secretary to figure her in. So in the 8th race, we will put the 3, 4, and the 6. All right, now let's go to the last race of the day, being the 9th race. 9th race has an approximate post time of 5 o'clock Pacific, so 7 o'clock here Central. Mile on the grass. These are maiden 50,000 claimers. And, they are 3-year-olds and up. And, this level of race, you get horses that, were once thought of as probably better than they are. They're running in special weights. You've got horses who've been running at this level. Some lightly raced horses. I've got 3 horses I'm going to put in. I feel like one of these 3 should take care of this here. I'm going to put the 5, who is Lady Lollipop from Michael McCarthy, Kyle Frey. This horse comes off of vacation. Last time we saw her was back last fall at Los Alamitos. She ran for a 50,000 tag that after coming off a maiden special weight race. And, obviously something happened. We haven't seen her since. She comes back for the $50,000 tag. This horse could possibly pop here, after a layoff. This is not a very strong field. Shows some nice works. 8-1, Kyle Frey. How many times we see Kyle Frey gets a horse out on the turf and goes, wires a field, or runs up close and finishes up. So Lady Lollipop strikes me as a horse that can do that, and certainly we see upsets happen in the last race of the day at Santa Anita. So we'll put the 5, Lady Lollipop. I'm also going to put the 7, who is Inner Fury, for Phil D'Amato. A couple changes here. This horse gets Antonio Fresu on the horse, coming off of an effort. He was ridden by Carmona, who was an apprentice at the time. Carmona's now a journeyman. They see fit to give this horse to Fresu. I think the jock switch should certainly help. Fresu's done a lot of good work, and a lot of good work with Phil D'Amato. So she, shows up for the 50,000 tag. Not too worried about that. Her North America career consists of a maiden special weight race, which she didn't show much there, and a sprint. That was her first time off the boat, coming from Ireland. They dropped her into a 50,000 tag. She ran a pretty good race there. So, they're just finding their level with this horse, Phil D'Amato. This horse is 5-2 in the program, and certainly, coming off that mile in an 8th race to a mile, certainly it would be fit and probably finishing up nicely. And then finally, I'm going to put the 9 horse. 9 horse being Nakota. Nakota for Patrick Gallagher, Hector Barrios. Now, these guys have teamed up with this horse several times. This horse comes out of the same race as Inner Fury, and Inner Fury came 3rd, and Nakota came 2nd that race. So, Gallagher's horses have been running pretty well lately. So, it seems like, things are going well for the Gallagher barn with, a few wins lately, and the horse has been running nicely. So we'll see. Nakota certainly fits here. She's been running at this level. Hector Barrios, again, as I mentioned. So it's probably just a matter of giving her a good trip, not giving her a whole lot to do, and maybe she can take care of this field. There are no standouts here. So we've got the 5, 7, and 9. All right, now let's recap the day and recap the bets. Okay, so for Friday, May 30th, we've got a couple bets here. We got a win bet and we got a late pick 5. So let's start out with the win bet. In the second race, we're going to make a win bet on the 4, Rose of Jericho. And let's move to the 5th race. Started a late pick 5. We got the 1-5 with, 2-6-8 with, 2-3-5-7 with, 3-4-6 with, 5-7-9. Now that late pick 5 ticket is a $108 ticket, and I think it's worth it. If we could beat a couple favorites, we could really see this thing pay. So, as always, if you see fit, you could bet as is. You can add or subtract. Make the win bet, make pick 3s within it, make that pick 4, the turf pick 3. Those all seem to pay out pretty well. Whatever you decide to do, I wish you the best of luck. Let's wish the folks over at Santa Anita a very safe day of racing. Let's wish ourselves some good trips and see if we can get some good results. Start off the week with a nice win. All right, as always, I do thank you so much for watching Fast Horses today. Thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button. I appreciate everybody doing that. If you haven't done so, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It's free. Just puts you on the feed. When content gets created, it gets served to you. You could like, dislike, make comments. Let's create a discussion. Always like that. So again, good luck today. Let's start the week off strongly at Santa Anita, the great race place, and we'll see you back for picks and selections for Saturday. Thank you very much.